In ancient Israel, parents always insisted on their right to select a bride for their son. On some occasions, the son or daughter would also be consulted. This was the case with Rebekah in Genesis 24, where she was asked if she was willing to go and become the wife of Isaac. After the bride selection process was complete, the groom's parents would approach the family of the bride and bride price negotiations would begin. The father would select a deputy to speak on his behalf during these negotiations. This can be referenced from Genesis 24 verse 33, where Abraham sent his servant to Rebekah's parents to represent him. In the ancient times, a family giving up their daughter in marriage implied a reduction in the work efficiency of the family. Often, the unmarried daughters would tend the flock of their father, work on the field, and also render help in several ways in the household. With these circumstances, some sort of adequate compensation was required, thus the bride price. Next in line would be the betrothal. This was more than a mere promise of marriage. It was a binding covenant. Both the groom and bride's parents would gather to witness this ceremony as the couple signed a written document of marriage. This type of document had been signed by Joseph and Mary prior to the events of Matthew chapter 1 verse 19. This document could only be nullified by a formal process of divorce. The actual wedding would happen roughly a year after the betrothal. The groom would go pick his bride from her father's house and a wedding procession would ensue. With the procession starting late in the evening, the street celebration would often get into the night. The story of the 10 virgins in Matthew 25 mentions of such an incident. After arriving at the bridegroom's house, the wedding feast would begin. There was no religious ceremony held at the feast. In place of this were the benedictions of relatives and friends. The wedding festivities would last for a whole week, as is referred to in Judges chapter 14 verse 17. It was a time of celebration for the bride and groom.